Welcome to the HuntFishTravel, soon to be the Adventure and Travel podcast. I am your hostess, Carrie Zilka, and this week's episode is super fun. We have on the line Jen Dale, who is the Kennel Manager and a guide for a company called Wolfsong Adventures in Mushing, which is run by John and Mary Thiel. Wolfsong Adventures in Mushing is pretty cool. It's up in northern Wisconsin, and we are going to hear all about how you and I can go and drive a dog sled. Because how fun is that? This episode is brought to you by Cryptic, Kryptek. I am in love with their new camo. I wore the Highlander bib overalls and coat while I was hunting down in Illinois and up in Wisconsin. And I can't wait to wear it this year in the cold weather because it really kept me super warm, and I love the Highlander pattern. So it's brought to you by Real Avid. Check out Real Avid for all of your gun needs. They have a wonderful shotgun tool as well as lots of AR accessories. So if you're into guns, check out realavid.com. Well, Jen, thank you so very much for taking the time to come on the show. The listeners and I are very excited to learn about dog sledding, what it's all about, how you even got involved in it, and how we can, do you call it just driving a dog sled?
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, let's start out by introducing the audience to you. How did you even get involved in all of this?
Actually, when I was 12, so back in the mid-'90s, my neighbor just down the road had Siberian Huskies, and he was having a litter of pups. And so I did what any good 12-year-old could do and mowed lawns all summer and earned enough money to buy my first pup. And then about a year later, I think I had 6. And so then I was ready to full team, and then one of my uncles actually got involved, which was great. So then he and I could run together.
So you just woke up one morning and was like, I think I'm just going to buy some dogs and I'm going to take people on dog sled rides.
Kind of. I mean, I really liked winter sports and loved being out, and skiing wasn't enough. So, and plus I love dogs, so it was a perfect combo of it.
That is cool. I had a Siberian Husky when I was in the Navy, and it was the best pet I've ever had.
Nice.
So definitely have a certain love for them.
Oh yeah.
So tell us more about the company that you run now.
So actually, the company is owned and run by John and Mary Thiel, and they started dog sledding actually kind of around the same time I did. We always found that was funny, about 1997. And so they both went to dog sled races and just fell in love with it. And same thing happened, started getting dogs and wanted more dogs so that they could run with friends. And then they moved to this area so they would have more room to run with the dogs in the Bayfield area. And just thought it would be really great to get more people involved in it. And so they started off Wolfsong Adventures in Mushing, and we run it very, very hands-on. So you get to meet all the dogs. They're all really, really friendly. Learn how to harness, learn how to drive your own sled. If you want to, you can also ride as well, and then go out on the trail. And so then I joined their team. It's been 8 years ago now. And so now I've moved more into the position of managing the kennel, and we have a couple other guides that work with us as well. But it's just a great experience.
How many dogs do you have in your operation?
Right now, we just had a litter of pups 6 weeks ago, and so we now have 44 dogs.
That's a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
That's a lot of...
Four of them are technically retired, so we keep all of our dogs stay in our kennel. We never give old dogs away. We're just too attached to them, and this is their home, and so they get to live their life out and run when they still can. And we actually have a 15-year-old that was still running this year, which is amazing.
That's cool. Yeah. About what age, or is it dependent on the dog when you decide to retire them?
It's kind of dependent on the dog, and it's more, we just really watch how they're feeling, and we treat anything we can. Many times it's just a matter of they need a longer time to warm up. Like, you can't just throw them on a team and take off lightning fast from the kennel. So we just make sure they properly get warmed up, and then they're able to run. And just like your house pet, you get some that their body just gives out a lot earlier than you would hope, just like humans are different that way.
Sure.
And then others like Doey, who is 15, and he ran every other day this entire winter, which was amazing. And he's still just spunky and running around in the kennel. So
that is awesome.
It's pretty cool to see that. Yeah.
Because it's just in their blood. I can imagine that, like, having to stay in the kennel all day long while you hear the buddies, barking as they set off would be torture.
Oh, I feel just awful. Like you leave and you totally do. You hear them but okay, I'm going to take you out this afternoon. It's going to be all right. So, yeah, they get a lot of free time to run around and play with the puppies. And so they have a pretty good life.
I bet. And explain to the listeners and to me what makes a Siberian Husky different than, say, a Doberman as to why they can travel long distances over the snow and the ice.
So they just have this built-in desire to pull. That is something we never train the puppies. They want to do that. And the way their body structures are built, they have really tough pads on their paws, so they can handle going over ice and running constantly in hard miles on snow. Of course, if you're doing a lot of miles, you can put. Many people have probably seen dogs with booties on their feet, and so a lot of racers will use that when they're doing fast hard miles. We tend not to have to use that on our trip. We average about anywhere from 8 to 10 miles during a trip. Some are lighter, some are more. And then just their coat structure. I mean, they don't like being inside.
Yeah.
They have this really thick undercoat that they start growing in the fall, and it builds up. And then on top of that, they have tough guard hairs. And so the guard hairs protect them from the elements, and then the undercoat keeps them nice and warm. So we never have issues with dogs getting cold, and even the coldest temps that we can get around here. So they're just set up. They're set up to survive and go long distances and take on the cold weather. And it's pretty amazing what they can do.
And they just want to work.
They do. They love it.
Tell me about the different packages that you offer, because you guys offer a lot. Everything, just looking, briefly glancing, I'm like, oh, I could go for a half day. Oh, I could go winter camping and go for a whole weekend. Or
Yeah, we try to offer a variety so that all different types of people can, enjoy the experience. Not everybody wants to sleep out in the elements. So the shortest trip that we offer every day we are open is the afternoon run, and that's about 2.5 hours. So you come in, greet all the dogs, learn how to harness, drive the sleds, you take off, and then you run whatever trail we're going to run for the day, depending on the trail conditions. And then we come back to the kennel, feed the dogs, and sometimes help put the dogs away, whatnot. The next longer trip is our morning adventure, and that includes lunch on the trail. So you get all of the meeting of the dogs and the same instruction and experience sledding, but you usually go longer, and you get that chance to stop on the trail, have a hot lunch, and just be with the dogs, ask more questions. It's just a little more time with the dogs. This year we started up what we called it the Sunset Run, and that one's pretty neat. So it's about the same period of time as the morning run, about 4 to 4.5 hours, and you go out and you leave before sunset, and you have dinner on the trail, and then usually timing's right as the sun's setting. We take off again on the trail and then put on headlamps, and only use them if we need to, because there's usually so much light reflecting on the snow, and then actually dog sled back to the kennel at night, which is that's an amazing experience.
That sounds
to be out at night
so
with dogs.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And the best thing about that one is that you get a chance to get used to driving the sled in the light.
Yeah.
And feeling how to gain your balance, and then you can just trust that you're going to do a great job, and just feel the sled and go with it. And most people we found don't end up turning on their headlights. They really get into it, and your eyes adjust well enough.
Oh yeah, especially if you get a night, especially like with a full moon or a bright moon.
Oh,
it's
it's
no problem.
It's great. And then we do offer just a straight up night run too, but that one we do encourage people to come once before during the light, so they actually have a feeling for it. And then then we do overnight camping trips, and those we actually take the dogs to a different trail location. It's called trucking dogs. When you put them into a trailer, they each have a box that they share with a partner, and then you set up your takeoff chute at a different location. And so then we dog sled into where I have canvas wall tents set up with wood stoves in the tents. And then that actually ends up just being a lot more dog time, because you get to, the dogs come with us, sled out, and then we put them on picket lines. So they each have their own spot that they're tethered to, and feed them. And then, just throughout the night, usually we have a campfire, and then it's great. You can go over and pet a dog whenever you want, snuggle with it a little bit, and then usually at some point in the night the dogs actually all sing together. Either they hear a coyote or sometimes wolves. We do have some packs around here, and it sets them off, and then everybody gets to hear that. That's a really magical experience.
That's awesome. You have lodging at your place too, right? So
No, we don't. Not at the kennel.
Oh, okay.
But there are so many different bed and breakfasts and really nice spots to stay in the Bayfield area and Cornucopia area.
Gotcha. How many dog sleds do you normally take out at a time? Is it like snowmobiling where you can go up with like 10 people or 10 sleds? Is it like that, or is it smaller amount?
A little smaller amount than that. Typically, we take 6 sleds out, and so the front sled is driven by the lead guide, and that's where if somebody would like to ride, they can sit with that guide. And then there are 4 sleds behind the lead guide, and those are driven by participants solo. We never combine up 2 participants because you can tip your sled over, and you don't really want to be riding and get tipped over.
Yeah.
So riders always go with any guide, and then we have a guide in the very back end that then in case someone does lose their sled, they can give them a ride and catch up. And so that we felt usually about typically 6 adults. If it's a mixed group with younger kids, we can take more numbers because kids can pile in, or we could add on an extra little sled, and then the kids can drive their own teams of like maybe 1 or 2 dogs, depending on how big and how fast the conditions are.
Sure. And are your prices on the websites, is that per person driving a sled? Like, say my husband and I want to come up and we want to go on the sunset run, but I don't necessarily need to drive a sled. I just want to sit in the sled. Is it still the same price per person?
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
It is.
Perfect.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, then him and I both want a sled, because that'd be awesome.
Of course. Usually anybody that says, I think I just want to ride, most of the time, once they get in there and we really explain how to drive the sled, they're like, okay, maybe just ride for a little bit, and then they end up driving.
Yeah, totally.
So,
oh, that's funny. Yeah. What would be the number one tip you would give somebody coming up to go for the very first time? What would be the number one tip you would give them?
Have no expectations. Just come in. Every trip is different. Don't worry about falling. It doesn't hurt. And it's a blast. Don't worry about what's going to happen. Just come out on the trail.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't worry about being cold either. That's usually the number one concern. We have plenty of extra gear, and no one ever gets cold on the trail.
Because I can imagine it's not like most, like I ice fish. So when we went snowmobiling, I wore my ice fishing gear. If I didn't ice fish, I would have nothing to wear. I can imagine that you get people from cities and all over the place that probably.
Oh, sure. Someone forgets a pair of boots.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is we have, so when John and Mary Thiel were starting Wolfsong Adventures in Mushing, they also started up a clothing line called Wolfsong Wear, and that all sorts of different jackets, parkas, and they're all made from wool and polar fleece with fur ruffs and then we also make snow pants and shells to go over that. So we have plenty of those to loan out as well. And then you look like the real deal too when you're doing it.
Right. What is the season? What are your dates that you run them?
So we officially open to the public typically the week before Christmas. Usually we have snow then. We tend to get quite a bit of lake effect snow here, so many times when the rest of the state is dry south of us, we maybe have been running for the last month on sleds. It's the beauty of having the lake up here. And then most seasons we get usually into the middle of March. We just closed this past week. And this spring was a little different than most. We had too many warm-up spells that then caused our base to deteriorate. And so we just couldn't last. There's many years that I've run into April, because we get, typical years we get close to 150 inches of snow. And so we go out every time it snows more than a couple inches. We're out on snowmobiles and we're packing it down so that we're making a really solid base that then lasts. So maybe there'll be, say March 20th, there's bare patches that you can see, but your trail is still solid and great.
Do you guys ride on the same trails that snowmobiles ride, or do you have separate ones?
No, up in Bayfield County, a law was passed quite a few years ago that the actual designated snowmobile trails are off limit to any other use from December 1st through the end of the season, and that's just for safety issues. But the beauty of Bayfield County is that I believe it's close to 85% is all public land, whether it's county forest, state forest, or national forest. And there are so many different trails that we can have access to. So it's a rare occasion when we meet anybody out on the trail.
Yeah, because I can't imagine, like you said, like what if you dump a sled? Yeah, on the rare occasion you might dump a sled, or somebody is just being a jerk on a snowmobile zooming by or whatever. I can't even imagine.
Well, the nice thing up here is just because it is so wooded, even the snowmobilers that are out on trail running, it's much different than other places where they're just, screaming as fast. And the trails are too windy. It's more for exploration. It's almost like backcountry snowmobiling. So, the times that we have come across other snowmobilers, and we're always very careful if we're actually crossing a trail, we stop and listen. But usually the snowmobilers are more shocked, and they pull off, and they're like, this is so cool, and then we go past, and our dogs are used to machines. We typically run a snowmobile through our kennel just to pack down a trail for feeding and walking the dogs out.
Let's talk a little bit about your location, because you are like way far north Wisconsin, way far. So explain to the listeners your location and maybe how far you are from some bigger cities.
So let's see, we are technically located in the town of Bayfield, Wisconsin, but we're really actually quite a lot closer to a smaller village called Cornucopia, and that's the beginning of the south shore of Lake Superior. And again, that helps us get all the lake effect being closer to the lake. But we're about 15, 20 miles from the city of Bayfield. That's a pretty small city. Year-round population is around 400. It, of course, booms in the summertime when tourism goes up quite a bit. And then Ashland is probably the next, Ashland and Washburn. Those are about 30 to 45 miles away. And then, of course, Duluth is an hour and a half away, and that's quite a big city. Most people have heard of Superior and Duluth, right on the south tip of Lake Superior.
Yeah, you're like 6.5 hours from me.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to come up for like a weekend ride because.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the great thing. There's more to do up here in the winter than just dog sledding. So many trails, ice fishing. That's really huge in Schwamigan Bay, and there's a couple different outfitters as well in the area that that can take people out in case you don't have your own equipment.
Yeah, I can imagine. Snowmobiling, dog sledding, ice fishing, skiing.
Yep. We even have a little ski hill, too, Mount Ashaway. It's great. Tubing hills and, 5-6 runs. And it's pretty good for northern Wisconsin.
Do you guys have any craft breweries up there?
Yeah, we do have out of Ashland, Wisconsin. It's South Shore Brewery, and they are always coming up with a new brew. They also have a tap house now in Washburn, where they're open in the evenings, and they actually do a bit of their brewing there. And they have a great shuffleboard table that they just made, and then they have a restaurant in Ashland itself.
Okay, nice. We're always looking for breweries. That's our thing.
Oh,
My husband and I, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
If you could recommend one place that someone should absolutely can't miss dinner, at what restaurant would you recommend? Like, what is your favorite place? Fish fry or whatever, prime rib? The two staples of Wisconsin.
Yes, exactly. Well, if we're not talking fish fry, I really enjoy for dinners Duluth, and that's in Washburn, and it's a great Italian restaurant where they have they do fire roasted pizzas, and they have gelato there that they make, and the pricing is very, very reasonable. It's great, and in the summer they grow a lot of their own greens that they use. And then fish fry is great in Bayfield itself. The pier does a really good all-you-can-eat fish fry, and they usually have lake trout and whitefish, which is great.
Fantastic. Cool. So people who are listening, where can they find out more about Wolfsong Adventures?
Both our Facebook site, that during the season, I'm posting usually, if I can, a couple times, if not more, a week. That's where most of the current news comes, and then we always link it and update our website as well, which is just Wolfsong Adventures and Mushing.com. Those are our two main avenues, and then you can always call our office in town as well, and anybody that would be answering the phone knows all the details.
I have to say, you guys, you have a really nice website. The photos are phenomenal on there. Whoever does your photography, or I don't know if people just are like, here, I took these great photos, here you go. They're awesome.
Nice. It's kind of actually a combo.
Yeah.
Professional, and then also what we've been able to take either ourselves or friends have submitted to us, which is amazing.
Yeah, some of them are just awesome, and they just make you want to get up and go right now. They do. And your website is very comprehensive. Like, it's really complete. I've gone, whether it's, snowmobiling trips or whatever, non-humongous corporation outfits, and sometimes their websites are so rudimentary and not informative. And you guys have every possible question I could have come up with. I could have found the answer there. So I think that's wonderful.
Nice. Thank you. Lots of effort, for sure.
And I'll definitely, I'll link all of this information in the show notes, the website, the Facebook, and the restaurant recommendations, of course.
Cool.
I appreciate you taking the time to come on. That was really all the questions I had. Was there any cool stories you wanted to share with the listeners?
Put me on the spot.
I know.
See.
Any funny stories or any interesting ones with, like, do you get people from, like, out of the country to come and go dog sledding?
Oh, we have occasionally.
Yeah.
A super funny story would be we have this dog. His name is Iger, and he has now sired a couple litters for us, and he's currently a new grandpa right now with our newest litter of puppies. But he's probably one of our cockiest dogs in the kennel. And so we have in the past, we've spoken to him in an Austrian accent, just because, when you have an attitude like that, you need to do that. And so he's become so used to being spoken to that he won't listen unless you talk to him in the accent.
That's how he knows you're being serious.
Shows how much we allow, continue it to go on. And so we actually did have a couple from, I believe they're actually from Switzerland, but very similar in, picking up on the accents. And they're standing next to Iger and petting him, and they start speaking to him, and he just goes nuts. He's just rubbing against them, pawing at them, and it probably made his day.
He's like, you are my people.
Yeah, finally.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, well, and that's just, it shows that dogs have so much personality.
Yeah.
For many people, they come on the trip and they're like, oh man, dog sledding was almost secondary. Like, just being with all these dogs and getting to work with them was, such a huge part of the trip.
I definitely can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, again, thank you so much for taking the time. This was a very fun interview.
Cool. Well, thanks so much. I'm glad it worked out.
I'm pretty sure you'll see my husband and I next winter.
Perfect. That would be great.
And that'll do it. Thanks so much for listening. You can also follow me on social media. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carrie Zylka, CarrieZylka.